Now, I understand at some point you made an introduction of Johnson to Richard Rawle.
Yes.
Correct?
Uh-huh.
Was that the first time you'd heard about his problems with the FTC, or was there a prior occasion or occasions?
I believe there was a prior occasion, and the Attorney General, myself, and Orrin Hatch met with Jeremy Johnson, I believe, before I made the introduction to Richard Rawle about the FTC help. I believe. But it's been long enough that I'm not quite sure.
The meeting with you and Mark Shurtleff and Orrin Hatch, where and when did that occur?
It happened sometime in August or September of 2010 at the offices of Senator Hatch here in Salt Lake.
Who called that meeting?
I think Mark Shurtleff did.
What was the purpose of the meeting?
As I recall, Jeremy Johnson wanted to explain to Senator Hatch the FTC was not listening to him, that they didn't understand what his business was doing, and he wanted someone like Senator Hatch to maybe reach out to the FTC and ask them to at least sit down with him and understand what his company was doing. And he'd had just brick walls since then, prior to that point in time.
In that meeting, were you and Mr. Shurtleff acting in an official capacity on behalf of the Attorney General's office?
I don't believe so at all, no.
In what capacity were you acting?
As friends of Jeremy Johnson.
Can you recall how the referral request came about? And by that I mean the referral to Richard Rawle.
Well, I don't recall specifically.
Can you recall whether it was your idea or his?
I think it was mine.
And do you recall, did you call him? Did it happen at the meeting with Senator Hatch? Was there some other event?
Well, so Jeremy had had some involvement with Czech City prior to the time when I suggested he give Richard Rawle a call and see if they wanted to work together on an FTC project. That's happened even before I was employed by the Office of the Attorney General. So he had already had some relationship with some of the members of that company. And I don't recall the moment I talked to Richard about that, but I recall sitting down with Richard over lunch sometime, maybe talking about something else. It was about the time I got started on the cement project. So it wouldn't be unusual for him and I to have spent time together and just said, I've got a friend, you know him, who is having a problem getting his story in front of the FTC. And I don't know much about the FTC and the lobbying of the FTC, and I can't do it myself. And he said that he had lobbyist relationships that he thought might make a difference. He was going to check it out. And he made some phone calls, and then he got back to me and said, we'd be interested in talking to Jeremy, but it'll be expensive. And it went from there.
Whose idea was it to try to reach out to Senator Reid?
I think that was Richard Rawle's idea. And it wasn't to Senator Reid, it was really to Senator Reid's, well, maybe it was indirectly through a lobbyist friend Richard had. I think his name is Jay Brown in Las Vegas.
But wasn't the ultimate goal to get Senator Reid to try to assist Senator Hatch in lobbying the FTC?
I think that looked to Richard like an avenue that could work for Jeremy, because Jeremy wanted a meeting with the FTC, he wanted them to understand things, and I think that's what Richard kind of strategized would work the best.
When you had the idea to introduce Jeremy Johnson to Richard Rawle, what was the full idea, and what did you think would come from that introduction?
Well, again, I had a friend, Jeremy Johnson, who was having some concerns with the FTC, and his statement to me was, I've spent $1 million on lawyers, they haven't gotten me anywhere. And I said, have you thought about, maybe hiring a lobbyist to see if you can maybe get in the door that way? Because all he wanted to do was tell a story. and wasn't getting anywhere. So I don't know, your question was?
I'm just wondering, well, what I've understood you to say is that the idea to approach Harry Reid was not yours.
Right.
But you also told me it was your idea to introduce him to Richard.
Yes.
And so I'm trying to flesh out the fullness of your idea. If your idea was not to have Richard somehow get to Harry Reid, what was your idea? Did it go beyond Richard, or did you just...
No, again, having worked with Richard for a number of years, I knew that he, at some point, if not then, was the public affairs chairman of the National Payday Lending Association. So he had interfaced quite a bit, and I'd actually interfaced with some of the national lobbyists when I worked with Czech City through my firm. So, so I basically knew Richard had contacts in Washington. I knew that Jeremy was looking for someone, and at least open to the idea of looking for someone that could be maybe a better resource to him than his attorneys were. And so I thought that those two should talk and see if they could work out something that would work and solve Jeremy's problems with the FTC.
If not Senator Reid, who did you envision would be lobbied by Richard and his contacts?
I think Richard told me that he had a good contact with Senator Reid, a good lobbyist for Senator Reid, and I thought that was a great idea. So I didn't really go much further than that. There was a man named Tim Repley that I knew from my days working in the industry. I didn't know exactly who Richard would be using, but I'm sure he would have consulted with Mr. Repley as well, who was the paid lobbyist for, full-time lobbyist for the Payday Lending Association nationally.
After making the introduction of Johnson and Rawle, what, if anything, did you do in furtherance of the lobbying effort?
Well, I simply, I know I prepared an email, a note, either for Jeremy, I think it was for Jeremy, talking about how I would position his attempt to get an audience with the FTC and what I would talk about. And so I know I had at least that involvement. Again, that was to assist Jeremy in the strategy.